All right, let's see where we get the audio working. All right, let's see where we get the audio working. Okay, put on the earpods, see if it's better. Today we're going to be looking at 35064. See if it's better. Okay, here we go. So 35064. This is in Fairfield, Alabama. Let me just kind of show you guys where exactly we are. Make sure the audio is still working on screen. Perfect. All right, so today, Fairfield, I got a property already right on 62nd Street. So today I found this property being listed at 130 grand. Pretty much, if you want to call it this, in the same subdivision, because my property is right over here. You're not crossing any major streets. So I'm paying really close attention to this property that's been listed for $130,000. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath for 1,449 square feet. So I'm paying, right? And this ARV is so important, right? Because it's going to affect the value of the homes that I have in the area. So today we're going to be analyzing this deal specifically on this property. It's been 86, 92 days on Redfin already. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look now at the condition of this property. This looks relatively turnkey. It does look like it's been renovated recently. Floor looks fine. Cosmetic, it looks fine, right? I just don't know what other underlying issues there are, but good to know. Now, the next step I want to take with this property is I'm going to look up the rent for this property. Now, this is not in Jefferson County. This should be in, oh, this is still in Jefferson County. Okay, good to know. So now that this property is still in Jefferson County, I can look up 35064, and now I'm going to see the rent ceiling for a 3-bed, which is right here, right? If you don't know how to get here, if you Google hot FMR and you click on the first link here where it says fair market rent, you can come down to this list and click on access to small area FMRs and click up this thing called look up FY 2024 FMRs, Alabama, Jefferson County, and now you're going to get this number that we're talking about in 35064. You're going to get the rent ceiling by zip code by bedroom count. All right. I see that this number is 1360, so I'm going to write this one down right here. I'm just going to note this one down. 35064. Let's transfer 64. I'm going to get the rents for the 3-bed and a 4-bed because this is going to be important. 35064. 1360, 1520. 1360, 1520. The reason I want to do this is because I want to get the rent ceilings, right? Usually these numbers include utilities, so sometimes they might be a little bit lower. The next step you want to do is you want to get the rents for the market rent. Now, if you go to affordablehousing.com, and you go to the owner section in the market rent estimator, you can plug in the address. Whoops, copy that address over and plug in a bedroom count. Plug in the address, plug in the bedroom count. And now for this property, as a 3-bedroom, it says the average rent is $10,045. 1045. Let's write that one down. 1045. The county rent is 1520. City is 1090. Zip is 1090. Great. Now I'm also going to get the rents for a 4-bedroom. Why is that? Because I saw this property was 1449, and I was thinking, how do you creatively add more rooms to it? Now I don't know what's going on with this dining room or this little pocket room over here on the side where there's a massage chair. But I'm assuming there is a chance that this room right here could potentially be turned to additional bedroom just by putting up the walls and making sure that it has cells air, and it's got that window ready. So you just got to put a door up. So something that's interesting for me to pay attention to, because if it's an easy conversion to 4-bedroom, that's one way I can creatively get more rents. Now you see how the rent just jumped up from $1,045 to $1,331. That's almost a $300 lift in rents per month if you're able to do an easy conversion and bring it to a 4-bedroom property. All right. So we're going to underwrite using both rents, but obviously if you're going to use it as a 4-bedroom, you're going to have to add in a little bit of extra capital investment to turn that additional room into a 4-bedroom. Okay. So now that I got my rent, let's get some more numbers from here. So for this property, the property taxes here is $140 a month, 140. And the insurance is going to be 101. So I'm going to do 101 times 1.2 to add a 20% premium to it by multiplying by 1.2. Because typically, the insurance premium for a investment property is going to be higher than the insurance for a primary residence property. All right. So let's plug in the rest of these numbers. So this property is 130 grand, 130,000. 3-bed, 2-bath. This property looks relatively turnkey, so I'm gonna leave that as a $2,400 rehab, which just includes some money for the roof at $1,500, $500 for the landscaping, and a 20% contingency. So that brings it to roughly around $2,400. Okay. Now for my other numbers, for my down payment is this right here, this 25% down payment factor. And I just used the asking price multiplied by the down payment factor. So B4 times F19. And that gets me to total down payment of $32,500. I got 2.5% for closing costs. So that's $3,250. So I got the renovations reserve for $2,400. All right. And now I'm going to get my finance amount. My finance amount is going to be equals to my asking price subtracted by my down payment, which in this case is going to be $97,500. Right now, I'm assuming the interest rates are around 8.25%, 8.25%. So that gives me my total principal and interest payment right here of $732. I got $140 property taxes, which I got from Redfin. I got monthly insurance numbers that I also got from Redfin. We have 10% for maintenance. So I'm setting aside 10% of my rents every single month, right? Every single month is going to be set aside for CapEx, which means that at some point the roof needs to get replaced. At some point, there's some sort of maintenance that needs to take place. So all these items, we need to make sure we have that in place. All right, then we got property management, 10%, and then we got 5% for vacancy. So this deal, let's update the rent to be $1,045 because that's the lower of the two, right? The reason you get it to the lower of the two, I'll even put $1,100 because I just got quoted for $1,100 for rent and for a 3-bedroom Fairfield. So if I do $1,100, which is just right around there, it's still lower than a $1,360. Why do you have to take the lower of the two, right? You might be asking that question. And the reason you had to take the lower of the two is because of the rent reasonableness test. The rent reasonableness test, and this is the Housing Choice Voucher Guidebook. And Housing Choice Voucher Guidebook says that in conducting rent reasonableness, the PHA must determine whether the rent to the owner is a reasonable rent in comparison to rent for other comparable unassisted units, which just means that you can't charge more rent compared to the market simply because you are renting out to a voucher holder for the obvious reasons, right? So obviously also depend on location, the quality, size, square footage, if it's a single family home versus a condo, right? Those types of rents are still going to be different, but you still have to figure out whether or not you're going to include them. And if you're not going to include utilities, etc., then your rent is going to be naturally lower. So this housing choice voucher, and housing choice voucher used to be formerly known as Section 8. So they just call it housing choice voucher now. So that is why we have these numbers and we're going to take the lower of the two. So if you rent this out right now as a 3-bedroom property and you're able to get $1,100, you will be negative cash flowed $169, assuming everything else is constant. So that's a negative 5.3% return on your money. And that's assuming you bought this product for $130,000. Okay. 130,000. Okay. Now, let's say we took this property from a 3-bed to a 4-bed and say, hey, we can try to get 1330 because 1330 is still the lower of the two, right? When compared to 1520, which is the fair market rent for a 4-bed, with a 1330, which is the market rent that we saw on the affordablehousing.com market rent estimator. You're taking the lower of the two number because 1330 is lower than 1520. So that's more reasonable rent. All right. If you rent it out for 1330, you're now converting this bedroom into a 4-bed. Let's say that costs you at least let's just say 12 grand to convert that extra bedroom, to build a couple walls and put in an outlet or whatever, and put in a door. Put in 12 grand. Now what are you making? Well, at 1330, you will be making $3.90, which is basically a 0% return on your money, or 0.1, whatever you want to call it. It's basically negligible. But you're still buying the property for 130 grand, but your rehab number now is $12,000 more. Okay, so I want to go through those scenarios with you so you can figure out, hey, is this a deal at 4-bedroom? No, it's not. But what would make it a deal if I were able to turn to a 4-bed? All right, so watch what happens when I lower the purchase price and its effect on the cash and cash percentage right here. If I lower this property to, let's say, 100 grand, that's only a 5% return. If I lower it to 90 grand, that's 7%. If I lower it to 80,000, boom, 77. There we go. Now, if your requirement was I want to make 10% of my money, and obviously this is not investment advice, I'm not soliciting any investments here, simply showing you guys the work and how you play around with numbers, because for every single property, there's a price and a set of terms that make the deal a deal. So if you go ahead and do this as a 4-bedroom, 1330, you can make $302 of cash flow a month, and that would be a 10.2% return on your money, assuming you bought the property for $77,000. Okay, and assuming your rehab was $14,400. Okay, now I'll probably go through one more scenario with you guys. So let's go back to a 3-bedroom. Okay, so in order for this to be a 3-bedroom, we would remove this $12,000 rehab number that we included when we turned this to a 4-bedroom. We have to lower our rent back to $1,100. So if you could not turn this property into a 4-bedroom and you had to keep it as a 3-bedroom or rent out for $1,100, what do you have to buy the property for? Well, we're going to continue lowering the purchase price. 65, 69. Okay, 9.8. So if I kept it as a 3-bedroom and I'm renting out for $1,100, I will be making $175 a month, and that's a 9.8% return on my money, assuming I bought the property for $69,000, and that was assuming rehab is $2,400. Okay. This is the set of terms that I want you guys to consider. Do I want to spend $12,000 more to rent it out for extra $230? Maybe, if I can get the property for 77 grand. If I can get the property for $69,000, that's fully renovated and I can rent it out as a 3-bedroom, well, that'd still be a deal for me. And I don't have to spend the additional money to manage a rehab, to get a contract out there, to pull the permits, to add the extra bedroom. That is the practice and the exercise I really want to go through with you all, because this is how you determine whether or not something is a deal truly. And that's how you figure out whether or not you want to pursue something. And don't forget, right, there is execution risk. And what's execution risk? Execution risk just simply means, am I going to finish the property's renovations on time, on budget, as expected? And we didn't even go through that much holding costs yet, right? So you got to think about it, whether or not you want to go through the exercise. But at the very minimum, what I learned here is, one, I can't wait to figure out whether this property sells for $130, because that drastically affects the ARV for a lot of other properties. Because all we did today was just assuming we got a regular debt service coverage ratio, DSCR loan, for 25% down, 8.25%, just as if we were to buy it on the market. Now, that might not be the case all the time, right? Your cost of capital might be lower or higher depending on your private relationships. So this is all the exercise that you want to go through, and you want to figure out whether or not that's something that you want to pursue. And so that's it. That's just for today. All we did was we went to the zip code. We looked at the market rents based on hot FMR. We looked at the market rents based on affordablehousing.com. We took the lower of the two because of the rent reasonableness test according to the Housing Choice Voucher Guidebook. We plugged in all the numbers. We got the purchase price. We got the renovations. We got the rents, which is the lower of the two again. We got the property tax number from the Redfin website. We had insurance number from the Redfin website, but we added a 20% premium. We had a 10% maintenance cost on it because guess what? Something will always break in your home. Your roof is going to get replaced eventually. Your HVAC is going to get replaced. If you don't set aside this money right now, you will be overestimating your profitability. And at one point in time, maybe it's 5, maybe it's 10 years down the road, you have a big repair and it's all your money, and you realize that all your cash flow that you made in the last 5 years is now gone. It evaporated because you had to put it towards one big expense and you thought you were profitable, but in reality, you were not profitable at all. So that money doesn't belong to you. And don't forget about your property management expenses. We have it at 10% right here. And we got 5% for vacancy because someone always moves out. And from that point onwards, we just did the down payment at 25%. We figured out what our financing cost was. And we just played around with the asking price until we got it to our cash and cash return. Now, do you need to always pursue getting 9.8% or 10% return? No. Some people might just decide to, if they just break even on the cash flow and they know they're in a market where the property is appreciating 10, 20% a year, well, that's a whole different way and a whole different strategy. So only you can decide what's right for you. So obviously you should consult your own investment advisors. So that's what I want to go through today. I hope you guys all analyze the same deal I analyzed today using the same spreadsheet. If you guys want to copy out a spreadsheet, just go to affordablehousing.io, not .com, affordablehousing.io, and go to the Get Deal Analysis tool. Plug in your details, and the system will automatically send a spreadsheet to you, and I will not send you any spam. All right? So that's the whole point. I want you guys to copy exactly what I did today. Just remember, we've been live for 17 minutes already. If you go live and you underwrite a deal for just 18 minutes a day for 365 days, you will be better at analyzing deals than 95% of the country. 95%. You can do this, and all you have to do is just copy my homework. Same spreadsheet, same property. Put it on your own YouTube channel. Because when a partner asks you, hey, why do you think this is a deal? Well, at that point in time, you can say, well, I know this is a deal because I've been looking at deals for the past 256 days, and they were all not deals. Successful people invest with people that are consistent, determined, and most importantly, just do what they say they're going to do. So this habit started for me when I only wanted to go live for 100 days in a row. And now I'm day 256, because once you build that habit up, it just keeps stacking. And when it stacks, that's when you truly become a different person. So now what do I do every day? I work out every day. I analyze the deal every single day. And those are just great habits that we want to set aside for our kids to kind of be around and grow up around. And I know how hard it is to build a following. I know how hard it is to be consistent. And I'm hoping I can take away one of the biggest barriers and all the friction around getting started. I hope you can just copy my homework. Don't even think about it. You can listen to the whole thing and just pick one sentence to explain better than I did. That's perfectly fine. That's good enough. Because this is how we lift each other up. This is how we build a community. And thank you so much for being a part of this community. Without people like you, I would have never had the home I grew up in. So thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in today. I'll be back here again tomorrow for day 257. I'll see you all tomorrow. Have an amazing day, everybody. I'll talk to you later.